Speed runs are also really nice too.
Okay.
These ones are very comfortable to shoot. It's only 6.5 millimeters.
So the M1 Grand are really up. So the
Yeah.
we're looking at yeah. And I was literally they're like, well, we have a bunch of 30-gallon racks. That's what we're
Thinking when Grant was released for us, it's been midway through actually as and then I think 276 and everybody's like, yeah, we're gonna do that. And then MacArthur said, no, for gas 6.
It's like, oh, the fruit actually like 2 cents.
Yes.
Before I start, give me a few minutes, but we will keep going working on the lab. Before we just talk about the Spotify, we based on what we learned about the use case, some diagram, but today we will really like working like dive deep, like how actually to implement all those like database, because for your project, like you need to get the like requirement, but just like make some assumption. Okay, when we you can, it's the same for the project. What you need to do, just pick any topic except Spotify and Uber. Okay, just pick anything you want to do, and then for the requirements, just we are like as a step one, we say okay, try to get the user requirements, right? So this is what they do. You can just make some assumption or like use your own way to get some assumption. Okay, so no, it's just like you need to put it in your document, and after you have a requirements and like put the documents, and then you need to draw those like diagrams. So if you remember the ER diagram, use case diagram, and class diagram, based on the class diagram, it will be kind of like the details, like how you implement your database. So you can think about it. I will say, okay, when we need to think about actually how the system architecture and then how are we going to really building like which layers. So that's what I'm going to cover. So you can think about it before I go into. So I will be back around a few minutes. So you can think about what's the system architecture we're going to build for the no, this one is multiple.
I think for a project many over as system analysis. I think that would be like comes out to like about stuff in other words. Yeah. Like your engines and all that. So I think it's like
If we deviate from that.
But I would just say if you were the kids that are that's something.
Yeah.
Is it a capsule?
I'm just saying if he's, for example. Survey.
So when we talk about the system architecture, so we have several layers. So right now, right here, you see we have the client. Okay, so except the client, what else? What are the layers do we require for our system design? Just guess what we. So this one is called a client. So the client layer is about that maybe we have the mobile apps, maybe we have the web dashboard, maybe we have some like application. Okay, so this one is called a client. Then when we talk about some like implementation, if you still remember the graph, we are working on database. So what are the another layer? It's just the name. So another layer is just called server layer. Okay. So for the server layers, we have two different types of we say service. One is called the API gateway. So this is what we always talk about. Okay, I sending the request. So this one is to the API gateway. So API gateway will connect with our database. So that's why when we are like drawing all those diagrams, especially the class diagram is the database storage. Okay, but for the flow, like the one maybe no matter we draw the use case or the ER diagram, it's not able to tell okay actually how it implements. So right now when we dive deep, then we need to really looking at like how can we actually implement it. So maybe for the API gateway, we will rotate different appropriate like microservice. Okay. So those like service, just thinking if you are taking the web programming you just did. So what are those like service as what you learned from the web programming? User service, write service. So which one can you connect with? Like when we're working with the web programming. So that one is our happy.js, that one. And what's the code we are using? Will be the route. Okay, so that one is called the microservice. Okay, so those will be the route. To those like you already learning, then so okay, so what are those microservice or what are the API gateway? That's what we are doing for our web programming. Like not the React.js, but the happy.js. Okay, so and those like service, then we need to think about okay, for those service we have different functions like let's say we need to manage for user that what are the possible function we can do, like maybe we need to manage for the user profile or maybe some login about some section. And also this one Uber mix up. Okay, so for the right service, and then we need to manage the right request tracking or some like histories, all these things. And then how about doing payment? So it's like possible handle the transaction, billing, and also some about driver. So we have the driver we talk about when we draw the class diagram. So driver itself and notification service. Maybe we have some like pop up, like real time pop up. So maybe when they arrive to pick up, how long does it take? Ready. And here's the structure and about database. Here's the things like before you look at it. You know the RDMS, we know the NoSQL. So do you think in reality, like for Uber, are they using RDMS or NoSQL? Yes. Yeah. But why? Why we are using both? So when we design, maybe in long time ago, maybe we only talk about before NoSQL comes out, then we just like working everything on MySQL. But what's the problem or like why we have called a NoSQL comes out? You know the reason? Instead of the SQL, the query, but why NoSQL like being implemented or like being launched, introduced? What's the benefit? If you learn the database, have like asked you this question.
so it's like easier.
easier. So it's more likely a big data, like because we do not really care about the structure, but also the data increase a lot. Also, I want to have a faster, because when we have a structure query, especially for reality, when we build the RDMS, we sometimes we need to combine joining tables, and they have multiple queries, create the views. So if you know, like, so intermediate view and then just let it. Okay, so all those will be have a really slow speed. But for those, if you're using the NoSQL, then we are select the data, get the data faster. So when we need to implement the system in reality, we need to think, okay, we are not only handle one type of data, but we may be handle multiple type of data. So we need to think, okay, for this type of data, is it better using the RDMS or using NoSQL? Then when we have something comments, okay, yeah, okay. So just like think about once you categorize, okay, I have something better handle with the NoSQL, then we need to implement NoSQL. And if we have something like it's like better stay with a relationship, then just stay with that relationship. Okay. And mainly when we learn the terms, it's like structured and unstructured data. Okay, so here's the difference. And also we have something called the real-time message layer and pop-up message notification. We only talk about the system design, but how did we really implement the push notification? Actually, there are some API and the package we can use like for you to implement, but we are not really covered in this class. Okay. And we have something called the WebSocket or AWS. They do have called some specific called Lambda, so they can use it to push notification. So how does it work? If you're interested, you can study about it, then you can know more. And for the real-time communication between the driver and riders, so it comes out. And then one more thing is about the geolocation service. Okay. Then we need to integrate with the map. Okay, so how to display the map and then provide the routing redirection. Okay, so far we have all these structure and layers. If we need to draw the pictures, like a diagram, showing all these things, like what the layers, like just a chart. So how does it look like? Okay, it's right here. Okay. So this. Okay, let me use this. Oh.
There's a sprite I gotta go through.
See what spray on the board does. It might.
Yeah, so we have maybe you're not able to see. So we have 3 boxes, so what should we fill in this? What's the name? So first we have the client layer. Client, and then server. Okay. And then database. That's how we work, okay. But under the database, we have 2 types, right? So let's say the one we already discussed, one is about the regular. You can just have a MySQL or like RDMS, it's a regular database. And then another one is the NoSQL. So we are working in structure, and then the server side. So we have the API gateway and the microservice. Okay, so client. Okay, the mobile app. And also we have, and maybe we say just desktop or like application. So we can tell the whole structure. So basically suppose like for all the project we're doing implement, all the structure will be like this. Okay. So just like try to when you're working on the implementation and no matter for your project when you design, I will always like looking for all this and then just list all the details. Okay, for the mobile apps. And after we have this structure, then we are able to think about like, okay, so if we have a server, then do we have any specific API? It's like only for the for the desktop, maybe sometimes it's like desktop or like are they specific for the mobile app? So how we create for it? Okay, so maybe some of them only available for the mobile app. Let's say for the Uber. Uber we have the geolocation. So do we provide the geolocation for the desktop view? So if I have a desktop view and I have a for the client layer, just the web dashboard, right? So the web desktop. So we provide the geolocation, or are we going to let the desktop or dashboard to access it? Why not? Okay, then well, when you say why not, that means we need to implement it or use it, right? Then we need to think about the purpose, like what are the special functions or like workups, why we need it. Pick up. Just a question discussion, yeah. So it's like, but do you think how many people were using the desktop, or like do you want to provide this function like for desktop? So asking, okay, so
Basically, you're saying, do we really want to mess with it, or do you just want to make them type in the address? Is there like have a keyboard anywhere?
yeah, so yeah, so
Yes, you don't even do desktop unless for like admins.
okay, so if let's say I want to contact the admin, then maybe the admin should able to view it, right? So able to check, okay, I want to see where's the driver's location, the rider's location, real time, then I should provide. Okay, so that means like this one I need to think is not for the driver, because driver is using the app, right? The mobile app, and also the most of them the client, they're using mobile app. They are not bringing the desktop like outdoor, right? They go somewhere and then carry the desktop. But that means the user will be the admin, most of them the admin. So usually they should able to check it. So that's why we need to think about, okay, so we should provide the function like this, then to provide, okay. So when we need to really like implement, like after we have the structure, and we need to really design. Okay, so I would like to ask, right here we talk about the database. We have the rational, the MDS, or then NoSQL. Right here I say I have a user writer payment and also writer history. I give you some example right here, but just a more interaction. So just reviewing. Can you anybody can help and then just pick up one of the table There's a user, what kind of information, rights, payment in the RDMS, and then another one is the NoSQL. So, any volunteer?
I drew it last time, so.
So right now, if we're looking at the database. Database, so we have one, right? So question of RD. And one is the NoSQL. So if we based on this one, so how can you draw the, or like give me the tables?
You want to.
Drawing the class diagram, that one. Okay, yeah. So do you have? Okay. Yeah, just a fake. You can want to do the one more. No more.
You want to do the single side? Single side.
User. Okay.
But everything is.
Don't know how to draw the NoSQL,
Yeah.
or maybe probably actually you maybe never draw the. Most of the time, what you learn is the RDMS, right? The MySQL tables, right? Okay. Okay. So let you try. If you need to show the NoSQL, how can you? Yeah. Okay. Just guess. Yeah. Anyway, based on NoSQL. Yeah, NoSQL. So right now we have called the maybe called the write history.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you learn if you remember, we using the MongoDB. If you know how to create a collection, DB use the collection, and how can we insert the table? Then based on the knowledge you know, then how can we draw them? And what the required attributes? For your project, this time I'm not asking because it's not same as the assignment. So maybe for the assignment, if you ask a question, I give you only 2 or 5. But for your project, you have to really list all the details. Also because you need to implement it. Okay, so make sure all the required attributes, columns you need, just like put everything and list in your documents. Okay.
That's it. Next week I'm gonna bring my own markers.
Okay.
That's what most people you can tell they're able to do like same for a rating system. Yeah, rating.
So when they're drawing, I'll just like talk about some documents. When you design the tables, and then you may also need to tell me if I want to show certain information. So if you're using the regular database, relational database, so you need to give me the like the query. So slash something, and then show me the attributes. So when we talk about the microservice right here, right? User surface, I want is they get the user profile. Then I need to work out return value return the data, you have to return, let's say I need to have username, maybe the email, phone number, maybe some other information you're going to save, then you need to put like the query showing information, and then you have to give at least one sentence or two sentences to describe. Okay, so what's this one used for? Okay, so here's the two database waiting.
Ratings.
So okay, if you put, okay, just like based on this one, you can keep on. So yeah, come and go. Okay, if we have a rating under NoSQL, then what kind of attributes, names, calling names?
Names.
Yeah, the attributes. Do you have an idea how to?
And no, I'm kind of rusty on NoSQL.
Okay, so if you remember, just as some give some boost, if you remember. So when we try to build a NoSQL, we have something like name. And then, do you remember anything? Like this. So this one will be the. Yes.
Oh, yeah, so now, I think I get it now. Okay. Sure.
Try the best to put the, oh, necessary. For this one, like before in the previous like class diagram, I said, you don't have to put everything, but for your project, especially project, you need to really put all the like everything, all the attributes we need. Yep.
It's usually how it would be like client server database. Is there any time there's like more or less in those three?
The basic structure is always like that, and only slightly different. If you remember in the last lab, I talked about the CDN, and also we have the for the database, we have the for the leader, right? So but everything's under this like basic structure, but because we try to add some like caching, also we apply the like idea as the content delivery network. So that one is still is the same, but we just build multiple. So it's under the same server layer and then server layer, and then we have just put multiple, and then we maybe apply different mechanisms for connection. But the idea is the same. And it's also possible because the database can be located differently with the API server. Okay, so we can answer the connect to it and then pass the data to another API server. So it's still okay. But most of the time when we implement, the API server always like directly putting with the database server. But of course, let's say I have one implement for the RDMS, like MySQL, let's say that is my API server, maybe specific for the MySQL. Maybe another one is using for the NoSQL, maybe I will put it in another location. It's okay. Yeah, but you see the structure, the basic structure is still the same. Client, server, and database. Yeah. And also, if you remember last time we draw the case like with the color generalization, and let's say I have a user. So this one, if I give you a slightly challenge, so I have a user type is rider and driver. So they share the same account. And how can we implement it? If you're looking, if you're interested, you can draw together. Okay, you're finished. That's it. Okay. Okay. So when you are working on this, like I just leave you a question right here. Okay, because we are working together, NoSQL and regular RDMS together, they are working together, right? So we have different structure and structure. And when you have a rider driver, and how can we link
to information that the data to get. Just think of, just like the question that you think of. Okay.
Just make like the items consistent.
Okay, and be consistent, or when we save it, get the data, that one for your database layer, actually just store it, so you don't have to think it. But for the API layer, the service layer, then we need to think about how to handle it. Okay, so this one is the question, after you finish the database, then we can discuss about how can we handle this one. The two different data and how do we pass the data.
Well, for the system design, we do need to consider. We have like different type of database, and we are not really like set the user ID user into it. Okay, so far for this one, and I gave you a question because last time we talked about generalization, like that one. So let's say if we have a user type, and I give you a chance, okay, I have a user type, driver, and rider. At the same table, then how? Okay, user ID, password. Okay, so they are sharing the same.
They would share the same one.
Okay, you inherit from the user. Okay, like I've seen this one, if you remember.
Right.
Okay, yes, this one. So far, okay, payments, credit card info, credit card numbers.
I don't know all the things you would want on this.
Always say we have the for the expired month.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, yeah, also, all these like maybe, when we implement, we need to know, sometimes we can save the credit card information and for the normal checkout page, so they will, yeah, thank you, they will based on the, yeah, thank you, okay, based on US. Okay, let's say we talk about the payments, right? So payments, right here, we have the payment ID, always I give an ID, index, primary key, it's the same. And then right here, for the credit card information, like if you really pay it online, so credit card information, month, year, and what else?
The code
Yeah,
on that.
yes, it says,
Yes, yes.
yes, security code, yeah, so we can put any name as security code. Okay, and also, maybe sometimes we say that right here, right, so how about here we have the payment one, so payments right here, so the price or the amount. So are we putting right here or right history?
You can have a payment.
Payments, okay, so that's why we created the payment. So when we design the system and then when you design, just like make sense, like, okay, there's a reason why we create the payment and put related information together. Okay. And this one so far with okay, right. We have the right history. And also with the right. Okay. So right here, so how can we
These things, do you think the data have like slightly overlap? So what's the right and right history? Because I just give you the name. So
So the ride would also contain like the current status of the ride, right? So if the ride had not yet started, then
if about current state of the ride, these are the reason why we have the RV and the node system. So if we talk about to implement this one for real time, we say maybe for real time, not at complete. So do you think which one should I put, like history or RV? Also about the speed, when I talk about like why we choose using node system, because it's faster. Yes. Okay, I can select and then if not, so maybe possible right, or like are we going to confirming, because this one already got history, so it's maybe done, finished it, and we have the this one right ID, start, when, and payment ID, how much, driver ID, user ID, okay. So right status, okay. And about this one history, right, and then driver is then proper destination. Maybe what else information we have? So we pick the time, how long for the trip?
And time. Right, because you also want to have date.
Okay. And as a follow-up question, okay, if I say ask time. Are we putting the time, let's say this ride lasts for 30 minutes. So are we going to put 30 minutes?
I'll put the ride.
Yeah.
Start time and save the end time and then just calculate.
Yes. Yes. If you remember, we talked about one is like, we can calculate something, we can calculate, I think last time when we drew the YA diagram, so you asked me like, why is something like with circles? Double check that one is like, can be used like this case, but one is like, you can, calculate, get the result and you will draw, okay, so, but for those can be calculated, for the RD, if you're learning the, regular database, if we are able to calculate, then we are not really save that number. So we just like put the start time and end time. Okay, maybe we need to save the base, like there's a history. So that's what kind of information we use and right payment. Okay, so it's a summary. So I have some example like right here. So the details. So maybe the password. Okay, for the password, I put it as a hash. So we need to also think about the security. Most of the time we say put the password. When you implement, I show you that MongoDB, when you implement, you just put the password directly, right? But we always try to encrypt the password. Okay, so sometimes if you know the encryption, discuss some password. Probably powerful one. I didn't talk about it. Okay, so for the password, we always say sometimes we say it's the MD5. This one, so we also put MD5. Or like any encryption method we are using, like you can choose the one you need to tell. Maybe we are using the SHA something. Okay, it's based on the rest. So we always try to encrypt your password. Okay, so for some like sensitive data, especially a password. Yeah, I think if you want to see, if you so we need to tell, okay, we need to encrypt it, and then we how we can encrypt it, and also one of the habit, like just remember, okay, when we try to create some record, we always have a habit for the create, or like you can create the time, date. It's much more impractical because I want to know when it create this account. Sometimes we never use it, but just like for reference. And maybe something like driver, we also have a create. So we try to make like keep the tracking, or like also we have one called the update. So this one we can like trace, maybe we have like different client to access it, to modify. Sometimes I want to check the latest update, who modify, when they modify. Yeah. So we always say have an understand of maybe I change the account later, maybe recently, then we change like maybe we have some conflict about the user information, right? But it did really happen. Maybe the user update by itself, by the user himself or herself, or maybe you call the admin help you to modify. So we can trace back. Okay, so when did the last time update? So we'll know. Okay. And for the driver, you'll see. Okay, so we connect with the user. And one more thing, we have the vehicle. Right? Okay, so I put the vehicle right here. Or do you think are we going to make a separate table? How about this? Do you think it's a good idea putting together or have a separate table for vehicle? Better? Okay. Why?
Because if the driving sense to change the vehicle instead of having to change every attribute, you can just change.
Okay.
the vehicle and change it to
Okay.
that vehicle.
Okay, so maybe when the driver changed the vehicle, but I want to save a history like before. So does it make sense? Okay. Just like based on that, what's the problem if I saving it because we have a new one? So somebody can you tell me if I save the vehicle information like license plate or model, color, all the vehicle information, but once I change it, what's going to happen? What's the potential issue? Yes, yeah. So maybe say by this vehicle, and then maybe your previous drive, maybe you got a ticket or something, reported your Maybe they don't know, they forgot the driver's information, but they know their plate number, or like you have some issue. They ask you, I want to check this license plate. I want to know who is the driver. If you replace it, then you will lose the information. You couldn't able to find that specific driver, right? So we will need to create another table, just like vehicle, and then make it so you maybe have multiple vehicles you drove before. Okay. Then if I keeping like this, do we need to provide some specific attributes to keep tracking which vehicle is driving right now? Or how can we? Do that. Okay, we have multiple, so that means like, are we going to update it? Or how can we do it? Let's say if right now I give you, this one will be, if I want to make it into two tables, so if you just like talk about, so which normal form? Sometimes we say, you know what I remember with normal form? First normal form, second normal form, third normal form.
Yes, it's ringing a bell, like first, it gets simpler as you go on, or more complicated, I forgot which way to go.
Okay, yeah,
I heard this term before, but it's been a while.
okay, yeah, I don't say.
I think that we were talking about this typically go beyond 3 or 4.
Yeah, we're gonna go beyond 3 number forms.
Oh yeah, so but something if you ask me, yeah, okay, yeah,
The first one is like list out all the tables.
yeah, just like make sure no, yeah, single, right, one row, just one record. So we never like keep multiple records like in one row, right? And just like remove all those like correlated, those like breakdown too. Okay, so if I just like a follow up, okay, based on anybody like somebody else, if I want to bring, like change it, move it out, vehicle from the driver's table, then how can I design this database? Like maybe you need to create new ID, new tables. Anyone can tell, like based on this one, driver's table. How can we create a new table for the vehicle?
I mean, you just have a vehicle table,
Mm-hmm.
and you move all vehicle information and then give it its own ID. And then you include that ID as a foreign key in your driver table, and that can be the current vehicle. And if you wanted to have a list of all the past vehicles you have, do you store that as an array, or would you need to join the two?
Just you using the just let and join the two tables, maybe. Okay. And here's a question. Okay, so let's say based on what you your design will be putting the called the vehicle ID in the driver's table, right? So that means like if once I change the vehicle, I have a new ID. That means I need to update my driver's table. Okay. Do you think it's a good behavior or is okay?
I would update the driver as opposed to the vehicle.
Okay.
Because the vehicle belongs to the driver, not the driver.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
For relations, it makes sense. But do we need to? Okay, think. Let's say. Like a vehicle table and I have the drivers. So I say, okay, I have a vehicle ID and then I have maybe the vehicle like model, make, and then maybe something other information like. So I will put the, you say, am I going to put the user ID right here? Or I just put the VID right here,
The VID and driver.
right here, so like this.
Yes.
You think it's any problem? VID? Do I need to, let's say I have the driver ID? Okay. Am I going to put the driver ID in this one? Oh no, it's enough.
I think you should.
I should, right?
I think you should.
Okay. Ask again. Okay, so
How many of you thinking I should just like keep it like this, like VID? So it's good enough? Or I also need to put the UID from this time. Or like, will be like duplicate or redundant, so why not I put the VID this side and then UID this side? So first one. So how many of you thinking I just need to put the UID on the driver side and then it will be enough? What? How about you proposing?
I think it'd be enough.
Enough, okay. And then how about others? Thinking I also need to put the UID. No? Okay, so if I want to select a data, if I put the UID, think I have more than 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles. So are we just only keeping one ID? Why not? Then what's the problem? So what's the,
If you can only have one vehicle ID on the driver, they can only have one vehicle at a time.
Okay.
If they have 2 vehicles that they use,
then we lost,
then you can't
That
have more than
connection.
one vehicle.
Yeah.
So if you put the user ID in the vehicle, then you can have multiple vehicles assigned to the driver.
no, like based on this one, that's what we said. Okay, so if I don't put the UID, okay, so if I do it this way, I only always can save the latest or the recently used vehicle, right? So let's say if I have multiple, it's like I have a record of this vehicle, but I don't know who is the driver. If I put the structure like this, right? Okay, so then we have no way to track it. Okay, so then what should we do?
Put it in both.
Both, okay,
And then the VID for the driver stores the current vehicle that's being used. But if they have more vehicles, then it's not tracking the vehicles.
You need a vehicle history table. And driver.
so you say proposing, I create one more called the vehicle history. Then, okay, let's say if I create one more vehicle history. Okay. So what else the difference? How many things? How can we fix this problem? UID, Okay. So if you say we try to create one more history, so what's the difference with this one? Like just regular.
Well, you wouldn't have to make a whole table for like a driver history, you just put that in the vehicle. table,
Okay, vehicle, okay, so.
Or the driver table.
Okay.
Either way.
Or if I don't have to, and then. So study
Find it for the
and,
driver, not the car itself.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You
Okay.
can put it as the driver have his own history.
okay, history, okay, maybe I'm doing like this, actually, if I do the English, if I do edit, then I don't have to put the vehicle one, so I don't have to. Okay. Then, if I ask, how can I know this one is the vehicle I'm using when? Or how can I?
Well, that you would put as a vehicle ID in the driver,
And a foreign key.
as a
Is
form.
it one key?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they, okay, like this.
Mhm.
Make sense? Okay, okay.
Did,
Anybody have like other opinions? So, doing this way.
Can we leave it where you could switch vehicles and say, like mid-shift or whatever? So like, say if you're doing your driving route and I know where, like, I'll use my car, for example, your transmission is completely stopped from working properly.
Okay.
Would it be possible, we can make it to where they are allowed to, say, get a new car and change it if they have another car they're driving.
For this situation, that means that I need to add a new vehicle, so just like, so I have an API for suppose I add vehicle or update my vehicle, so anything, okay. So, or the recent using. So if I need to switch my vehicle, then I need to update this table, right? My driver's vehicle, and also I need to add one more, so I can just link them together. So I can, I can check the history, also I can check the recent. Okay, the vehicle I'll be using. Of course, this one is okay. We can do it just like we just add one more column because all the users okay. Or another way is, how about I add one more attribute, or maybe, current used. Or I can add one more attribute for like current used, and then just put it as a boolean. Right, true or false, false, or which one, then I just select the database. If I have a UID and then just check which one is true, then also I can get a view. So either way, but if I'm doing it this way, then I don't have to join the two tables together. If I just need to, if I have the user ID. But most of the time when we design system, actually we get the profile of the user. Most of the time we have the start with the section ID. Although if you know the web programming I talked about. So when we implement for the security, we barely using the user ID directly. First, when they log in, we get the user ID, and then we match the caching or like the table to check. Okay, for this section ID, I have specific user ID. Okay. So I can pass the user ID. So actually for build application, like that was for much more dynamic. So it's called a section ID. So I have a section, and then okay. So for the section, then we have a section ID. So section ID have a user ID. Maybe like when they create the time, or create time, and then like this. Okay. Time, section ID. And here's the design of differences. So if I want to get a vehicle information and I only have a VID right here, so that means I need to join the table. But if I have a user ID right now, if I say right here, then I don't have to join the table, but I can get my vehicle information directly, just like this table. So what's the difference? Joining table or just like, maybe when you look at it, do you think it's a big issue? Joining table or just let it get it directly from one table?
If you want to see the full history, the joining table would be valid.
Even the implement in this one, can I see the full history for specific user?
No, because if they use one car, then switch their car, and then switch their car back to the first car, you've lost one of those records. Because you'll update it to a new session or time period that they use it, and then you don't have that first one you have anymore.
Okay, so maybe you mix up the section, one section, when you mention section. Session is like when you log into let's say I'm using my cell phone to log into the app. So you need to sign in the account, right? So that one is the section. This one is the extra for the maybe you didn't really learn it, like maybe talk about the database, but when we decide for implement our app. So have you ever experienced like you have been kicked out from the app and then you need to sign in again? So do you know why?
Your login credentials, they need refreshing.
Refreshing and or like why they are doing it this way? Why don't let me? For some app they do let you sign in forever, but some of the app they just kick you out and request you to sign again. Why they do it this way? Or like how? Yes.
They want to like kick out some people just it's active.
Okay, active. Okay, active. Okay, yes.
Sometimes, most of the time, some of the times it's for security reasons. If like say you leave your phone.
There's somewhere in some people says that side. But of course, like most of the time it feel like it, yes. And for that section, the time. So let me finish this part. Okay, so For the section is mainly for login, so we can set a time, let's say for 1 day, 2 weeks, maybe half a year, but we never keep it that long. But that was like letting those user like take out the inactive. Then I don't have to maintain the connection, like always checking or just like for protecting. Okay, so this one of behavior we're using. I think first time you know. So if you need to think about login, try to add this one section ID. Think about the section ID. Okay, and for checking the history, so you can using this one for history. Is okay. I can trace it. Right? I have a user ID. I can check off this one and then maybe fix at the time. And of course, like if I want to see like what's the switching, like when did they use this one? Because for this one we have a limitation. We cannot see the time, or we can stop at the time, right? Because we try to add the like when they create it or like when they switch it. Maybe we can add one more actually to check like when they use this one. Like what's the latest use? Here's the question. You can think about it because we have limited time. If I want to check all those like when did they use this car, like the orders, like let's say I use the vehicle 1 and then switch to 2 and I go back to 1 and go switch to 3 and also go back to 2 again. Then how can we store this type of data? And leave your question, think about it. Okay. And we have more like details about the data. If interested, you can check for the tables, but later I will go through about the API, the interface design. Also in our lecture, we will talk about the user interface. Yeah, so we'll cover this part later. Okay. And that's it for this class. Thank you.